Welcome! You know the feeling, right? You're staring at this beautiful dashboard, it's packed with charts and numbers, and it's telling you a really powerful story. But then what? What happens next? Well, today, we're diving into exactly that, how to turn those stories into real-world action. We're going to talk about closing that gap between seeing an insight and actually making an impact.
So imagine this. Your dashboard flags something big. Maybe it's an anomaly, a group of customers about to churn, or inventory that's getting dangerously low. The insight is crystal clear, staring you right in the face. But to do anything about it, you gotta leave the dashboard, open up a whole different app, and kick off some manual process. The insight gets trapped on the screen, and honestly, its value starts to drop with every single extra click you have to make. And this slide, it shows that pain point perfectly. Over on the left, you've got the old way, that clunky 5-step manual slog. You see the insight, you export the data, you open your email or Slack, attach a file, type out a message, and then you have to hope someone actually acts on it. But look at the new way, which is all powered by something called Looker Actions. It just collapses all of that down into one single elegant step. You see it, you act on it, right then and there.
Okay, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to look beyond the dashboard to really get the core concepts down. Then we'll jump into some real-world examples, peek inside what's called the Action Hub, see how a custom action is built, and finally, we'll tie it all together to see the bigger picture of your data's potential. All right, let's kick things off with section 1, Beyond the Dashboard. This is really about a huge shift in what we should expect from our BI tools. It's not just for looking at data anymore. So what are Looker Actions? Well, think of them as the bridge. They are the feature that lets someone, whether they're in marketing, finance, or ops, trigger a real business process, like sending an email or flagging a transaction directly from a chart or a table in the report. It literally breaks down that wall between seeing and doing that we just talked about. But for these actions to actually be reliable, everyone in the company needs to be speaking the same language. And that's where the semantic layer, built with LookML, comes into play. Just think of it like a universal translator. It takes all that confusing database jargon, like merchant_amount, and turns it into plain English, like amount charged by merchant. This makes sure that when you click a button to act on some data, you're acting on a metric that everyone agrees on and trusts. Okay, so we've got the concept down, but what does this actually look like day to day? This is where the theory gets real, so let's jump into some seriously powerful use cases. For a fraud team, this is a total game changer. Picture this. An analyst sees a transaction that just looks off based on a model. Instead of that whole manual export process, they can just click on that one transaction right in their Looker dashboard and trigger an action to mark as suspicious. This immediately kicks off an investigation and feeds that info back into the system. It's a complete closed loop that just keeps making the model smarter. And it's the exact same principle for operations and marketing. A marketing manager might spot a group of high-value customers who look like they might be about to churn. With a single click, they can set off a chain reaction, send a personalized re-engagement email, create follow-up tasks in their CRM, and post an update to a Slack channel, all at once. So how are all these powerful connections managed? Well, that all happens inside what's called the Action Hub. Think of it as the command center that links your data to the rest of the world. The Action Hub is pretty much a marketplace for integrations. It lets you connect Looker to all the other tools your business runs on, whether that's Slack, Salesforce, Google Drive, or even custom-built internal apps. It comes with a bunch of pre-built actions ready to go, but its real power is that you can build almost anything you want. And you've got two main ways to go here. There's the official Action Hub, which is a cloud service from Google that has a library of popular, super easy-to-enable actions. But for ultimate control, you can host your own custom Action Hub on your own infrastructure. This lets you integrate Looker with literally any application that has an API, which, as you can imagine, opens up a whole world of possibilities. Which brings us to building a custom action. Now, don't worry, we're not going to start writing a bunch of code here. Let's just take a quick, simplified peek under the hood to see how this stuff actually works. A really common and efficient way to build these is with a serverless architecture. That just means using tools like Google Cloud Functions. They're awesome because they're super cost-effective, you only pay when they're actually running, and they scale up and down automatically. Then you put an API gateway in front to handle all the security and make sure everything is locked down. At its heart, a custom action is like ordering from a restaurant. First, Actions List tells Looker what's on the menu.
which actions are available. When you pick one, action form is like the waiter popping up to ask for any extra details. The real magic happens with action execute. That's the kitchen, doing all the actual work. And those last two functions, they're like the security at the door, making sure you're logged in and allowed to place the order. So how does Looker know which data is clickable? You'd think it would be super complicated, but it's surprisingly simple. In that LookML semantic layer, a developer can just add a little tag to a field. This tiny snippet of code right here is just telling Looker, hey, you can trigger an action from a single cell in a table. It's that tight integration that makes it all so powerful.
Of course, none of this works without security. You can't have just anyone writing data to other systems. This is all handled by a standard process called OAuth. You've seen this flow a million times. It's that familiar thing where you click Login, a Google sign-in window pops up, you approve it, and you're sent right back. It's just a secure, behind-the-scenes handshake that proves you are who you say you are.
Okay, for our final section, let's zoom out a bit. Let's see how Looker actions fit into the wider data and AI ecosystem to really, truly unlock your data's potential.
Now, a common point of confusion is the difference between Looker and Looker Studio. Let's clear that up. As you can see here, the key difference really comes down to that semantic layer we've been talking about. Looker Studio is an amazing tool for visualization, no doubt, but Looker is a full data platform that's built on a governed semantic layer, and that provides the trust and actionability that you need for these kinds of workflows.
And this is where things get really exciting. When you combine Looker with the rest of the Google Cloud ecosystem, it's like assembling a data dream team. You've got BigQuery for incredible scale, you can build machine learning models right in your database with BigQML, and you can pull in advanced predictions from Vertex AI. This lets you build custom AI-powered applications that are so much more than just a dashboard.
This quote from the source material just says it all, doesn't it? The whole point of modern business intelligence isn't just to show you what's happening. It's to empower you to influence what happens next.
And that right there is the key takeaway. This is a fundamental shift from passive data consumption, just looking at dashboards, to active data interaction. Your data stops being a static report and becomes a dynamic, interactive part of your job, helping you get things done faster and smarter.
So, as we wrap up, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. Think about your own daily work, the repetitive stuff, the annoying gaps between seeing an insight and actually making an impact. What walls could you break down? What workflows will you activate with your data?